So,
Let me move something.
oh, no, you like that chair better? Just move something in the middle.
Shalom, sis.
All right. Are you ready?
Yes,
We're
sir.
live. Okay. Shalom. Yahweh Ba'Ashim Yahushua Barakathum to all the Akim out there. Yahweh Shamar Alathun Ba'Ashim Yahushua to all the Akwathium. This is the Baltimore Sabbath Service. This is April 27th, 2024. Let me just go over what we have been. So, as many of you know, we are just returning from the Passover. Last week was the Passover. We in the IHBK commemorated. And then the next day was the first day of unleavened bread. And actually, we are in the Feast of Unleavened Bread right now. Tomorrow, at sundown, that ends the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and it starts the Feast of First Fruits. All right, so tomorrow, so at this time, you are to be eating unleavened bread every day. That is the commandment, that you eat unleavened bread, and you are not to be eating anything with leaven in it until tomorrow at sundown. And let's just do a quick review. I know we're going to go over this tomorrow, but some people might be tuning in, and I might not fully understand why we do certain things. But can anybody just quickly explain why we commemorate the Passover? Anybody want to jump in there? Anybody can jump in. Why do we commemorate the Passover? Actually, it says in Exodus that when you're commemorating the Passover, your children are going to ask, why do we keep this service? And you want to be able to explain to your children why you commemorate the Passover. All right. Looks like nobody's volunteering, so shalom, sir.
I like to say it plainly, sir. If I may.
Go ahead. You want to?
Yeah, I like to say it plainly.
Go ahead.
We commemorate the time that the Most High put our enemies to unalived our enemies.
That's
and pass us over.
That's exactly right. It's straight Salakia.
Kind of what time, sir.
Okay. That's exactly right. The Passover, in a nutshell, like Officer Picard said, it commemorates our, and shalom, Lord Christ, it commemorates our Independence Day. That was a time when the Most High came and he slaughtered the firstborn of Egypt. He passed through Egypt and passed over the children of Israel because of our obedience and our act of faith to slaughter the lamb and put the blood on the doorposts of the sides of the doors and overhead. Okay, and then not only do we commemorate the Passover, but we commemorate our the days of unleavened bread. Does anybody know why we celebrate the Feast of Unleavened Bread? Anybody know why? All right. Well, we celebrate the days of unleavened bread because, first of all, we had to leave out of Egypt in haste. So that unleavened bread that we take commemorates us walking. Pretty much we were pushed out of Egypt, and it was in haste, and we didn't even have time to make to put the leaven or the yeast in our dough for it to rise. That's how quickly we were put out. We're pushed out of Egypt because the Egyptians were mourning their dead. And the first day of unleavened bread commemorated us literally walking out of Egypt. Okay, so this is the time when we were leaving Egypt, left out of Egypt, and we're making our journey to the mountain of the Most High in the wilderness. Okay, So we eat unleavened bread 7 days to commemorate us leaving out of Egypt in haste, and so that's why. So that was just a quick summary. Now we're going to be going back to what we were studying when we left off. We were in the book of Chronicles, and so we'll go back to Chronicles. Now remember, Chronicles is talking about the genealogies of the children of Israel, the bloodline of the children of Israel. And like I said, we talked about before, bloodlines. The bloodlines are important because it shows you your inheritance. Okay, your inheritance. See, especially anciently, people thought of passing things down from father to son, lands, titles, inheritance. And so, and a part of the promise of the inheritance was the land. Okay, and in order to stay in the land, we had to be obedient. In order to get put out of the land, that means we were disobedient. That's why the Most High always said, if, if you do this. So that's a big part of the covenant, if. We have to remember to keep our part. But this is showing who the Chronicles, the first part shows the genealogies of Israel going all the way back to where the covenant was made. And so we're going to continue that. We're in 1 Chronicles 4:27. I'm in chapter 4, verse 27, and we're going to be reading 27 through 33. Of course, like we always, we read it in the Hebrew, then we read it in the English. All right, so we'll start off today, 1 Chronicles chapter 4, verse 27, in the Hebrew. 1 Chronicles chapter 4, verse 27. Washamaya, Bunya, Shasha, Aishar, Wabunya Wath, Shasha, Wala Akyawa, Ayan, Bayam, Rabayam, Wakal, Mashapakatham, La'a, Harabwa, I, Bunya, Yahawada. Verse 28. Rishabwa, Baba Ar, Shabai, Wamalada, Wakatazar, Shawa'al. Verse 29. Wababalaha, Wabaitazam, Wabathawalad. Verse 30. Wababathawala, Wakarama, Wabatazayakwala Kwaka. Slaki. Wabatazayakwalad. Verse 31. Wababayath, Marakabawath, Wabakatazar, Sawasayam, Wababayath, Baraya, Wabasha'aryam, Allah, Aryaham, Aid, Malak, Dawada. Verse 33. Wakatazar Yaham, Ayatum, Wa'ayan, Ramawan, Wathakan, Wa'aishawan. It's like a Wa'aishan, Aryam, Kamash. Verse 33. Wakal, Katazar Yaham, Ashar, Sabayabwath, Sabayabwath, Ha'aryam, Ha'Allah, I, Ba'al, Za'ath, Wamashabath, Wamashapatham, Wahathayakasham, Laham. All right, and that's it. Right, now we're going to be reading that in the English. This is 1 Chronicles chapter 27, chapter 4, 27 through 33 in the English.
The book of 1 Chronicles chapter 4 and verse 27. And Shimei had 16 sons and 6 daughters, but his brethren had not many children, neither did all their family multiply like to the children of Judah. Verse 28. And they dwelt in Beersheba and Molada and Hazashul. Verse 29. And at Bilhah and at Ezim and at Tolad and at Bethuel and at Hormah and at Ziklag. Verse 31. And at Beth Markaboth and Hazar-Susim and at Beth Bari and at Sharaim. These were the cities unto the reign of David. Verse 32. And their villages were Etam and Ain, and Rimmon, and Toshen, and Ashem, 5 cities. Verse 33, and all their villages that were round about the same cities unto Baal. These were their habitations and their genealogy.
Excellent. All right, and so it's just going through the genealogies like we were talking about last time. All right, and like I said, and you know, these genealogies show why the children of Israel are connected to the covenant. All right, let's go ahead and continue. We're now in 1 Chronicles 4. We're going to be reading verses 34 through 40 in the Hebrew first, then in the English. 1 Chronicles chapter 4, verse 34. Woman Shawabab, Waya Malak, Waya Washa, Bun, Amatazayah. Verse 35. Waya Allah, Waya Ha'awa, Slaka, Waya Ha'a'a, Bun, Yashawa Yashababya. It's like a Waya Shabya, Bun, Sharia, Bun, Aisha Ya Allah. Verse 36. Wa alaya wa ayanya, Waya ay kwamba, Washa Waya Shawa Khaya, Wa ay Shaya, Wa ay Daya Allah, Waya Aisha Waya Shaya Ma Allah, Wabunya. Verse 37 was Yaza'a, Bun, Shapaya, Bun, Alawan, Bun, Yadya, Bun, Shamaria, Bun, Shemaiah. Verse 38, Allah, Haba Ayam, Basha Mawath, Nashaya Ayam, Bama Shapakwatham, Wabayath, Abawath Yaham, Paraiwa, Lara Wab. Verse 39, Wayalakwa, Lama Bawa'a, Gadar, Ai, Lama Zarak, Hagaya'a, Lama Kwash, Mariha, La Taza Anum. Verse 40, Waya Mataza'awa, Mariha, Shaman, Watawab, Waha Arataza, Rakabath, Yadyam, Washakwatath, Wala Washalawa, Kaya, Man, Cham, Hayashabyam, Sham, Lapanyam. And that's it. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to be reading 1 Chronicles chapter 4, 34 through 40 in the English.
The book of 1 Chronicles chapter 4 and verse 34. And Meshobab, and Jamlech, and Joshai, the sons of Amaziah. Verse 35. And Joel, and Jehu, the son of Josabiah, the son of Sariah, the son of Asiel. Verse 36, and Eloani, and Jacoba, and Josiah, and Asaiah, and Adiel, and Jessamil, and Benai. Verse 37, and Ziza, the son of Shaphi, the son of Alon, the son of Jediah, the son of Shimri, the son of Shammai. Verse 38, these mentioned by their names were princes and the families, and the house of their fathers increased greatly. Verse 39, and they went to the entrance of Gedar, even unto the east side of the valley, to seek pasture for the flocks. Verse 40, and they found fat pasture and good, and the land was wide and quiet and peaceable, for they of Ham had dwelt there of old.
All right. All right, and then, you know, it talks about, it says, these men were princes and their families, and the houses of their fathers increased greatly. Okay? Okay. Now, let's go ahead and we're going to continue reading. We're going to go to 1 Chronicles 4, 41 through 43, and then we're going to jump over to chapter 5. We'll read that in the Hebrew, then in the English. 1 Chronicles chapter 4, verse 41 in the Hebrew. It's like this. Waya ba'awa Allah hakathawabiyam basha mawath bayamya yakatazak Yahuwah malak Yahawada wayakwa af alahayim alahayim it's like ayahayim wa af Hamai Yanyam Ashar Namataza Awa Shema Waya Karyaham Salaki Waya Karyam Mum I Hayawam Hazah Waya Shabwa Vakahyaham Kaya Maraiha Lataza Anam Shum. Verse 42. Wamaham Man Bunya Shemaiwan, Halakwa, Lahar, Sha'ayar, Anashiam, Kamash, Ma'awath, Wapalatayam, Wana Arya, Warapya, Waizaya Allah, Bunya, Yeshaya, Bara Asham. Verse 43, Wayakwa, Af, Sha'aryaf, Hapalata, La'ai Malak, Waya Shabwa, Sham, I, Hayawam, Hazah. This is the book of Chronicles, chapter 5, verse 1 in the Hebrew. Wabunya, Ra'alban, Bakawar, Yasha'ala, Kaya, Hawa'a, Haba Kawar, Waba Kalalwa, Yataza Wa'aya, Abayawa, Nathana, Bakarathwa, Labunya, Yawasak, Bun, Yasha'ala, Wala'a, Laha Thayakash, Labakar, Lakapara, Labakara, verse 2, Kaya, Yahawada, Gabar, Ba'achayawa, Wala Nagayad, Mamanawa, Mamanwa, Waha Bakara, Layawasa, verse 3, Bunya, Ra'alban, Bakawar, Yasha'ala, Kanawad, Wapala Wa'a, Katazarwan, Wakaramya, verse 4, Bunya, Yawa Allah, Shemaya, Bunya, Gawag, Bunya, Shemaya, Bunwa, and that's it. Shalom. All right, we're going to be reading, we're in 1 Chronicles chapter 4. We're reading verses 41 through 43, and then we're reading chapter 5, 1 through 4.
The book of 1 Chronicles chapter 4 and verse 41. And these written by the name came in the days of Hezekiah, king of Judah, and smote their tents, and the habitations that were found there, and destroyed them utterly unto this day, and dwelt in their rooms, because there was pasture there for thy flocks. Verse 42, and some of them, even the sons of Simeon, 500 men, went to Mount Seir, having their captains, Pelata, and Neriah, and Raphiah, and Uzziel, the sons of Isha. Verse 43, and they smote the rest of the Amalekites that were escaped, and dwelt there unto this day.
And you got to remember too that when we were coming into the land of Canaan, the Canaanites, the descendants of Ham, they were living all throughout that land. And the Most High gave us those lands. Originally, it was ours, but we know from the fall of Adam, you know, when Adam was pretty much put out of that land, or the fall of Adam in that land, you know, those other nations came and pretty much dominated. Well, the descendants of Ham came and they pretty much dominated that land. Okay, and so when we were coming back in that land because of the promise of Abraham, we had to, you know, we had to remove the inhabitants of the land from that, because, and not only were the Canaanites in the land, the Most High said the land needed to spit them out because they were doing a lot of abominations. They were doing a lot of atrocities. They were doing a lot of abominations, which caused the land to spew them out too. So there's definitely laws that you have to keep in that land. And the people that are in that land now, of course, you know, they're not Israel. They're going to be spit out of that land too. It's only a matter of time, because you have to be keeping the laws, statutes, and the commandments. That's pretty much like, it's almost like it's a natural and a spiritual law in that land. So you got to remember that. So that's something really important. Slack it. Go ahead. Where were you? You were in
First Chronicles, chapter
Five.
5 now.
Come.
Okay. The book of First Chronicles, chapter 5 and verse 1. Now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, for he was the firstborn, but for as much as he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given unto the sons of Joseph, the son of Israel, and the genealogy is not to be reckoned after the birthright.
Let me stop, Salaki. So this is important too, because remember we said historically the firstborn was pretty much supposed to get the birthright, but we notice throughout the scriptures, a lot of times the birthright or the promise or the inheritance didn't go to the firstborn. Whether it's because you had Jacob and Esau, Esau was the firstborn, but first of all he despised his birthright. He sold his birthright, and then Rebecca knew the prophecy and caused Jacob to go and receive the blessing. Okay, and so the blessing, the birthright, all went to Jacob. With Isaac and Ishmael, Ishmael was the older brother, but the promise went to Isaac. Now, when it comes to the sons of Jacob, the birthright was supposed to go to Reuben, who was the oldest. However, Reuben went into, he uncovered his father's nakedness by sleeping with one of his father's wives. And so that's what he did, okay? So when you can't take one of your father's wife. And a precept to that is with Paul. Somebody in that era had their father's wife. You were not to do that. And so Reuben lost out on the birthright, and that birthright was given to Joseph, which really was transferred to Ephraim and Manasseh. Okay? Come on, sir. One of the handmaids, I can't remember, I think it was Bila. It was Bila, I believe, that Reuben took. He took one, and so that's why he lost out on the birthright, because he took one of his father's wives, and that was a really, and so you got to think too. Now, why would Reuben make that move? Because it's kind of like you assuming the it's almost like I want to say you're taking something that's really important of your father, and it's like now it's going to be passed on to me. He was presumptuous. Because does anybody know another person that did that to their father, that took one of their father's wives? Does anybody know? This is right. Absalom did that. Absalom, when he was going against his father, he took his father's concubines. Okay, that's almost like assuming your share. Like I'm next in line, so I'm going to take something of my father to show. Well, doing that presumptuously causes you to lose out on the birthright. Salaki, go ahead.
The book of First Chronicles, chapter 5 and verse 2. For Judah prevailed above his brethren, and of him came the chief ruler. But the birthright was Joseph's. Verse 3. The sons, I say, of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, were Hanak and Pelah, Hezron and Carmi. Verse 4. The sons of Joel, Shammai, his son, Gog, his son, Shammai, his son. Verse 5. Micah, his son. Riah.
That's it. Right? All right, let's go ahead and continue reading. We're in 1 Chronicles chapter 5. We're going to be reading 5 through 11 in the Hebrew, then in the English. First Chronicles chapter 5, verse 5 in the Hebrew. Yakah, Bunwa, Ra'ayah, Bunya, Ba'al, Bunwa, verse 6. Ba'ara, Bunwa, Ashar, Hagalah, Falagath, Palana Asar, Malak, Ashar, Hawa'ah, Nashaya'ah, Lara Wabunya, Slaki, Lara Wabunya, verse 7. Ba'akyawa, Lamasha Pakafya Yawa, Bahafya, Slaki, Bahafya Shah, Slaki, Bahafya Kash, Latha Lado Wathum, Haraash, Ya'aya Allah, Wazarach Yahweh, verse 8, Wabalai, Bun, Izaz, Bun, Shammai, Bun, Yahweh Allah, Hawa'ah, Yahweh Shab, Ba'ir Ra'ar, Ra'aid, Nabwa, Waba'al, Waba'al, Ma'ai 1. Verse 9, Wala Mazarak, Yeshab, Aid, Laba Wa'ah, Madabara, Laman, Hanahar, Parath, Kaya, Makwanyahum, Rabwa, Ba'arakazah, Gala'aid, verse 10. Verse 10, Wabayamya, Sha'al Al, Aishawa, Malakama, Ain, Hahagara Ayam, Wayapolawa, Bayadma, Bayadam, Washabwa, Baalaha Layam, Al, Kal, Punya, Zara, Mazarak, Lagala Aid, verse 11. Wabunya, God, Lana Gadam, Yeshabwa, Ba'arataza, Habashan, Aid, Salaka, and that's it. All right, we're going to be reading First Chronicles 5, chapter 5, and we're going to be reading verses 5 through 11 in the Hebrew.
Book of First Chronicles, chapter 5 and verse 5. Micah, his son, Ra'ai, his son, Baal, his son, Barah, his son, whom Tagapasnir, king of Assyria, carried away captive. He was prince of the Reubenites. Verse 7, and his brethren by their families, when the genealogy of their generations was reckoned, were the chief, Jeiel, and Zechariah. Verse 8, and Bala, the son of Azaz, the son of Shammai, the son of Joel, who dwelt in Eror, even unto Nebu and Baalaman. Verse 9, and eastward he inhabited unto the entering of the wilderness from the river Euphrates, because their cattle were multiplied in the land of Gilead. Verse 10, and in the days of Saul they made war with the Hagarites, who fell by their hand, and they dwelt in their tents throughout all the east land of Gilead. Verse 11. Verse 11, and the children of Gad dwelt over against them in the land of Bashan until Salcah.
Excellent. All right, let's go ahead and continue. We're reading First Chronicles chapter 5. We're reading verses 12 through 18 in the Hebrew. First Chronicles chapter 5, verse 12. Yahweh Allah, Hara'ash, Washapam, Hamashana, Waya'ainya, Washapat, Babashan, verse 13. Wa'akayahum, Labayath, Aba Wath Yahum, Mayak Allah, Wama Shalom, Washabai, Waya Warrior, wa ya Ikun, was a Yai, wa I bar, Shabaiha. Verse 14. Allah, Bunya, Abayahya Allah. Salakia. Abayahya, Bun, Kawarya, Bun, Yara Raka, Bun, Gala'id, Bun, Mayaka Allah, Bun, Yashaya, Yasha, Bun, Yakadwa, Bun, Bawaz. Verse 15. Akia, Bun, Ibadya Allah, Bun, Gawanya, Ra'ash, Labayath, Abawathum. Verse 16. Wayashabwa, Bagala Aid, Babashan, Wababanathya, Wabakal, Magarashya, Sharawan, it's like a Sharawan, Al, Taza Al-Wathum, verse 17, Kalam, Hatha Yakashwa, Bayamya, Yawathum, Malak, Yahawada, Wabayamya, Yaraba'ain, Malak, Yasha'ala. Verse 18. Bunya, Ra'alban, Wabgadya, Wakatazaya, Shabbat, Manasha, Bun, Bunya, Kayal, Anashiam, Nasha'aya, Magun, Wakarab, Wadarakya, Kushath, Walamawadya, Malakama, Araba'ayam, Rabaiha, Allah, Washabai, Ma'awath, Washashayam, Yatazaya, Tazaba'a, Tazaba'a. And that's it. All right, now we're going to be reading 1 Chronicles 5:12 through 18 in the English.
The book of 1 Chronicles, chapter 5 and verse 12. Joel the chief, and Shepham the next, and Janai, and Shaphat, and Bashan, and their brethren of the house of their fathers were Michael, and Meshulam, and Sheba, and Jerai, and Jachan, and Ziah, and Heber. 7, verse 14. These are the children of Abahal, the son of the Huri, the son of Jeriah, the son of Gilead, the son of Michael, the son of Jeshisha, the son of Jadu, the son of Buz. Verse 15. Ahiah, the son of Abdil, the son of Gunai, chief of the house of their fathers. Verse 16. And they dwelt in Gilead and in Bashan, and in her towns, and in the suburbs of Sharon, upon their borders. Verse 17. All these were reckoned by genealogies in the days of Jotham, king of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam, king of Israel. Verse 18. The sons of Reuben and the Gadites, and half the tribe of Manasseh, of valiant men, men able to bear buckler and sword, and to shoot with bow, and skillful in war, were 44,760 that went out to the war.
And see, I mean, even in the talk about the genealogy, it talks about, you know, our men of war as well. They even go into, I don't think we read it yet, but David's mighty men. These were men that went out to war and fought with David and for David. Okay, so that was even important. The scribes were important. See, and this shows that the bloodline was very important, because you didn't even talk about the scribes, the writers, the authors of Israel. All these people were of significant importance, okay, in Israel, and we kept records of them. And why did we keep records of them? Because, like we said, you know, if you were a scribe, then your son would more than likely be a scribe. And it was to preserve things going from father to son, okay? So all of this was very important in Israel, okay? And this would just show, like I said again, who the inheritance belonged to, okay? It just didn't belong to anybody. Now, anybody could just come in and take the inheritance. I can't go over to, I don't know, England or somebody else and claim an inheritance if my bloodline is not tied to that, okay? It's the same thing with being an Israelite. You can't just be a spiritual Israelite. Shalom, Lord of Christ. You can't just be a spiritual Israelite. You have to, it's a bloodline. Now, you can't be an Israelite and then think you're going to get a receive inheritance and don't keep the law. Because guess what? You just like heathen. So it's both. It's both. It's a bloodline, and you also have to be keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Because if not, what's happened to us continuously is we've gotten put out of the land. Okay? We've gotten put out and lost our right to get the inheritance. Okay, so it's got to be both. All right, let's continue. We're in 1 Chronicles chapter 5, 19 through 25. We're going to read that in the Hebrew, then in the English. 1 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 19. Wa'aisha wa malakama ain hahagarayam wayatawar wana payash wana wadab. Verse 20. Wayai zarat wa'aizarwa alayaham wana nathnawa bayadam hahagarayam. Right, it's like it. Hahagarayam, it's like it. Wakal shamai maham kaya la alahayam wa alahayam za'ikwa baba malakama wana I thawar laham kaya batakwa bawa. Verse 21. Wayashabwa makwanyaham gamala yaham kamashyam Allah wataza an ma'athyam wakamashyam Allah wakamawaryam alatyam wanapash adam ma'aha Allah. Verse 22. Kaya kalolyam rabyam napalwa kaya maha alahayam hamala kama wayashabwa fakathyaham I gala hagala. Verse 23. Verse 23. Wabunya katazaya shabbat manasha yashabwa ba'arataza mabashan I baal karama one karam one. It's like washanyar wahar hara mawan maha rabwa. Verse 24. Wa Allah ra'ashya bayath aba watham wa aipar wa yashaya wa Allah ya Allah wa ya aizar ya Allah wa ya rami yaha wa yahawa wa yaha wa the wa ya zat wa ya khad ya Allah anashyam Gabawaria, Kayal, Anashia, Shemawath, Ra'ashia, Labayath, Aba Watham. Verse 25. Waya Ma'alawa, Ba'alaya, Aba Wathyaham, Wayaznawa, Akaria, Alaya, Anya, Ha'arataza, Ashar, Hamashamayad, Alahayim, Mapanyaham. And that's it. Now we're going to be reading, it's 1 Chronicles chapter 5, and we're going to be reading verses 19 through 25.
The book of 1 Chronicles chapter 5 and verse 19. And they made war with the Hagarites, with Jetur and Nephites and Nobad. Verse 20. and they were helped against them, and the Hagarites were delivered into their hand, and all that were in them, for they cried to the Most High in battle, and he was entreated of them, because they put their trust in him. Verse 21, and they took away their cattle, of their camels 50,000, and of the sheep 250,000, and of asses 2,000, and of men 100,000. Verse 22, for there fell down many slain, because the war was of the Most High, and they dwelt in their steads until the captivity. Verse 23, and the children of the half tribe of Manasseh dwelt in the land. They increased from Bashan until Baal-Hermon and Sinir, and into Mount Hermon.
Let me stop right there. Probably, I don't know if people remember why they said half tribe of Manasseh. Does anybody remember that? Does anybody remember why? Okay, if you look and when the children of Israel were going across the land of Jordan, half of the tribe of Manasseh, and I cannot remember the other tribe. Somebody will come and comment and tell me the other. Was it Reuben? I can't remember. But half of the tribe of Manasseh stayed on one side of the Jordan. That was where their inheritance was. Now, the Most High told that half tribe that stayed and settled in that land that they still had to go over and fight with their, Akim for the other lands. But a lot of times when you're hearing of the half tribe of Manasseh, that's talking about their inheritance, okay? Because half of the tribe of Manasseh stayed on one side, and I cannot remember that other tribe. I'll find it and say it, but somebody probably knows out listening. But I want to say it's Reuben, but they have their inheritance on one side of the Jordan, and that's where they stayed before the children of Israel crossed over. But the Most High told them, you still have to go across over and fight. All right? Did we finish? Question? Go ahead. No, it's not that, but, the Most High was pretty much saying, don't just, you got your land, but, some people might just settle and chill. Then after that, like, I got my space. But you got to remember, there was the rest of the children of Israel that had to go in the lands, and they had to take it. So the Most High was like, pretty much like, don't be lazy and just stay over this half. Like, you're going to still go with your Akim and fight, so they can get their piece of the land too. Good question. Go ahead, Slack.
The book of 1 Chronicles, chapter 5 and verse 24. And these were the heads of the house of their fathers,
Just one more.
even Epher, and Isha, and Eliel, and Azariah, and Jeremiah, and Hudaviah, and Jediel, the mighty men of valor, famous men, the heads of the house of their fathers. Verse 25, and they transgressed against the Most High of their fathers, and went a-whoring after the gods of the people of the land, whom the Most High destroyed before them.
Okay, and that was, of course, one of the problems of Israel is that, he left some people of the land there to test them, and they became a thorn in Israel's side because they started whoring after those other gods. All right, excellent. All right, excellent reading. All right, we're going to read the last scriptures for today. This is 1 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 26, and then we're going to read chapter 6, 1 through 6 in the Hebrew, then in the English. 1 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 26 in the Hebrew. Wa ya'ar aliyah yasha'ala af rakah pawal malak ashawar wa af rakah falagath palanasar malak ashawar wa yagalam la ra'al bunyawa wala gadya wala katazaya shabbat wanasha waya lakalaka lakalalak wakababwar wakalabor wahara'a wanahar gawazan I hayawam hazah. This book of Chronicles, 1 Chronicles chapter 6, verse 1. Bunya loya garashwan kwahath wamawarya. Verse 2. Wayabunya, Kwahath, Aimaram, Yatazahar, Wakabarwan, Wayai Ya Allah. So like Wayaiza Ya Allah. Verse 3. Wabunya, Aimaram, Aharan, Wamasha, Amariam, Sa, Wabunya, Aharan, Nadab, Wa Abayaha, Wa Ala Izar, Wa Athaf, so like a Wayathmar. Verse 4. Ala Izar, Halayad, Af, Paya Nakas, Halayad, Af, Abaya Sha'awai. Verse 5. Waya Abaya Shawai, Halayad, Af, Bakya, Wabakya, Hawalyad, Af, Isaiah. Verse 6. Wa Isaiah, Hawalayad, Af, Zarakia, wa Zarakia, Hawalayad, Af, Marayawaf, and that's it. All right, we're going to finish it off. 1 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 26, and then 1 Chronicles chapter 6, 1 through 6 in the English.
The book of 1 Chronicles, chapter 5 and verse 26. And the God of Israel stirred up the spirit of Paul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and he carried them away, even the Reubenites and the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh, and brought them to Halah, and Habor, and Harah, and to the river Gozan, unto this day.
Okay, and you notice that the northern kingdom of Israel was taken first. Well, the whole kingdom of Israel. Remember, we know Israel split into two kingdoms, the northern kingdom, we all know that, and you have the southern kingdom. The northern kingdom was taken first, and they were taken by Assyria. All right? So we know that, historically. All right?
The book of 1 Chronicles, chapter 6 and verse 1. The sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari.
Now these, real quick, we know the sons of Levi were the ones that were surrounding the tabernacle, okay? So there was 4 distinct families surrounding the tabernacle. So if you think of the wilderness, when we're in the wilderness, the Most High had his own tent, and we had the tent surrounding the tents of the Most High, okay? Now, the tribes that pretty much surrounded the Most High's tents were the priests, the priests, that was the Aaron's sons, and then you had the sons of Levi. Now, we got to remember, the priests were also Levites. I don't know, so not all, let me see if I can say this right. Not all Levites are priests, but all priests are Levites, if that makes sense.
Right.
It's like not all Americans are Marylanders, but all Marylanders are Americans. Something like that. Okay, so you had the Aaron's sons were the priests who were also Levi, but then Levi also had the 3 tribes: the Gershonites, the Kohathites, and the Merathites. They're the ones that surrounded the tabernacle, the Lord's tabernacle, because they were the ones that did the work. The Kohathites. Does anybody know what the Kohathites did? Actually, they had a distinct job. Actually, that was a tough. I think all the jobs were pretty tough, but they had a distinct job. Anybody remember? Well, the Kohathites were the ones that carried the ark. Okay, that was the Kohathites. Okay, now it seems like the priests also could carry it, because there's some scriptures that kind of say the priests were carrying it, but the Kohathites' job was to carry the ark. Now, they couldn't go in and see the ark. The priests had to go in and actually cover the ark. So when the Kohathites came in, just imagine how the Lord's tent was. Everybody knows how the Lord's tabernacle looked, right? You had the inner chamber, and then the inner chamber, like they call the most holy place. But in the inner chamber, you had the lampstand with the lights. You had the showbread for the priests. You had the altar of incense, and then behind it was, pretty much the throne. So the priests had to go in and cover all of that, and then the Kohathites would come and they would take all of the holy, items. They're the ones that would take it out. And then you had the the Gershonites and the Merathites. Ones would take, make sure they would carry the curtains and all that, and others, carried, certain parts. So each had a part in dealing with the tabernacle. So just giving y'all a little history. Many of you probably already knew that, but just going over that. Go ahead.
The book of First Chronicles, chapter 6 and verse 2. And the sons of Kohath, Amram, Issar, Hebron, and Uzziel, and the children of Amram, Aaron, and Moses, and Miriam, the sons also of Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar.
Real quick, now the sons of Aaron. Aaron had 4 sons, but does anybody remember what happened to 2 of his sons in the wilderness? Anybody remember? Go ahead. Go ahead, Kara.
They got killed. They got unalive.
Khan. And why? Does anybody remember why they got unalive?
So like I think it was because they sent up smoke to another god.
Pretty much, they did. It pretty much did strange fire. Pretty much, they disobeyed. So it's the Most High was very particular how you were supposed to come and draw near to Him, and they didn't obey, and they were unalive. Excellent. Go ahead.
The book of First Chronicles, chapter 6 and verse 4. Eleazar beget Phinehas, and Phinehas beget Abishur.
Now, Phinehas, really quickly, when Aaron died, the priesthood passed to his son Eleazar. Pretty much, Eleazar was the chief priest, like his father Aaron. And then the Most High made a covenant with Phinehas' house, that was Eleazar's son, because does anybody remember what Phinehas did? Anybody remember? He did something special, and the Most High pretty much made a covenant with his family. Does anybody remember what he did in the wilderness? Anybody remember? Well, in the wilderness, there was a man that came in and was showing off, I think, his Canaanite wife. Brought him into the camp of Israel. He was pretty much trying to show off. Modern days, is sometimes when we get rich, who do we go and marry and try to show off? Anybody want to answer that? Say it in? Okay, yeah, we'll get one of, sometimes some of us will get our, show off our oppressor's prize. Like, I made it, so I got to marry. Well, he was doing the same thing. And Phinehas, being zealous, put a stake through both of them. Okay, so he came into the camp thinking he was going to show off his heathen prize, and Phinehas came in with a stake and killed both of them. Stabbed both of them through with the same spear, okay, together. So because of his zealousness, the Most High made a covenant with Phinehas' house. Go ahead.
The book of First Chronicles, chapter 6 and verse 5. And Abishur beget Bukai, and Bukai beget Uzai. Verse 6. And Uzai beget Zariah, and Zariah beget Meriah.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. We'll just have the people up here. Imani. It's like you know the blow the horn. Face forward. Stay your right in there. La Yashala.
La Yashala.
All right, this is for everybody. Imanium, which means to stand. Wapanya Kwadam, which means rise and face the east. We're going this way. 1, 2, 3. Right this way. We're going to read the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew, then we're going to read in the English. The Lord's Prayer. Abanawa. Shabbat Shemayim. Kodash. Hayah. Shemka. Yahweh. Malak Wafka. Daba'ah. Retazayaka. Hayah. Aisha. Ba'arataza. Kawa. Hayah. Bashemayim. Nathan Lanau. Lakam. Call. Yawam. Wasalak now. Kabawak now. Kasalak now. Kabawaki now. Wala'ah. Tabi'ai now. Manasaya 1. Abal. Hawashai now. Mayan. Ra. Kaya. Laka. Hamalakwa. Waha'ala. Wahatapa'arath. La'ai Walam Yam. Aman.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh. The kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom will be. Thy will be done.
Thy will be done.
In earth.
As
it is in heaven. Give us this day. Our daily bread. And forgive us our debts. As we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation. But deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom. And the power. And the glory. Forever. So be it.
Sar, which means to turn. Sisters Yeshabium. Men of Israel, gird up thy loins and prepare to salute the Torah. Face me first. Yahweh Bashim Yad Shabrak Yah.
Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shabrak Yah.
Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shabrak Yah.
This concludes the service.
Men of Israel, we'll give one courtesy salute to the teacher. Men of Israel, Amadium Shabbat, Amadium, Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shabbarakatham.
Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shabbarakatham.
Yazmatah, Sar, which means to turn and face the sisters. We're going to give a one courtesy salute to the sisters. Sisters, Amadium. We'll give a one courtesy salute to the sisters. Amadium Shabbat, Amadium, Barak,
Yahweh Shamar Alatham Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai.
Yazmatah, class was dismissed.